So I just got Roccia or Rossia, so I'm going to watch this video because I pulled before watching any guys just because I like how she looks like. Let's see if she's actually worth it, right? Okay.
To be a performer for someone like Roccia? Well, honestly, I think that's arc subject to change. Now, what's so special about this stage performer? Well, first of all, she's a premium support for Havoc damage dealers, especially for
Yeah, that's one thing that I didn't know. I thought she's a main DPS. So after that, I found out that you kind of need Camellia, right? But maybe in the future there's gonna be a new Havoc DPS, so I'm gonna be saved. But she looks fine, like her animations are fine.
Melia, which I'll talk about later in the video, but if that's not enough, Roccia can also group up enemies with her funky tornado she summons. So
Yeah, and the grouping is fine, and the grouping is a lot of. That's why I kind of pull for her, also, because she's cute also, right? So.
this utility can be very useful in both Tower of Adversity and other time challenges. And then finally, she can also boost everyone by up to 200 attack with her Resonance Liberation. So paired with a strong support build, she can actually serve as a nice flexible choice for nearly any.
If she's gonna be flexible, like if I can build this Moonlight Clouds energy region, I think she can basically function in more teams. But let's see the video. Let's see what it says.
Team comp. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's quickly go over how she actually works, starting with her forte. Okay, so basically her forte allows her to deliver pretty nice personal damage, and then on top of that, it is the main source of concerto energy. In fact, she gains tons of it, so you better be sure to land her forte consistently. Okay, but how does it work? Well, it has a resource system called Imagination. She can obtain at most 300 of it, and as you can see, the forte is split into 3 bars, so 100 Imagination equals 1 bar. Once she has at least 1 bar, there's 2 ways that we can consume it, by either doing a heavy attack or using the skill, both of which will end up launching her into air. So once launched into air, she becomes suspended for a moment, enters a state called Beyond Imagination, and if you tap attack, she will do this slam attack called Real Fantasy and consume 1 bar. However, as I said, it's best to have all 3 bars filled because, as you can see, doing these 3 slams in a row allows her to gain more and more concerto energy. In fact, the last third slam generates almost as much concerto as the first and second slam combined, so keep this in mind. Alright, so how do you build up imagination?
Well, that's simple. You basically attack and switch and intro skills, right?
To slam those enemies into pancakes? Well, it's actually pretty simple. There's only a few ways to do it. First, we have basic attacks. She has a 4-hit combo, and interestingly enough, the last 4th hit generates around 1 full bar of imagination. So you better don't miss this attack because, unlike other methods, she has to hit enemies in order to obtain imagination. But moving over to heavy attack, if you hold the attack button, and depending on how long you held it, she can charge up roughly 2 bars of forte, and if she hits the enemy, this will allow her to then deliver those Real Fantasy slam attacks.
That's the thing about her. Her animations are so nice. That's why I pull. This is why you pull for some characters. Obviously, power is important, but at the end of the day, is what characters you like, right? You do like a lolly type, you do like a mommy type, do like a camellia, hardcore. You know, it's not about power anymore.
But I will say this, using heavy attack to charge up her forte bar is pretty risky against aggressive enemies in places like Tower of Diversity, since she just stands there menacingly and can be knocked over easily. However, in open world, this is a pretty good opener for any fight. But anyway, next way to gain her imagination would be her skill. The moment you press it, she will immediately gain 1 full bar, and then she will create this giant tornado vortex that will suck in the enemies in the most hilarious way I've seen a gacha.
So you basically you want to do the skill when you're having 2, you do the skill, you're gathering them, and then you do the charge attack, I guess.
Do it. Honestly though, it's a very nice grouping ability against enemies that can be sucked in. However, against bosses or time challenges where you have to be as fast as possible, you can easily cancel this skill since it will still grant that 1 full forte bar and concerto energy as well. Still, keep in mind, most of the time you will want to wait for the skill animation to finish because this will put her into the Beyond Imagination state where she can then launch her slam attacks from the forte. Okay, and then finally we have the intro skill. It will also generate 1 forte bar, but on on top of that, after using the intro skill, if you immediately attack, Roccia will launch her fourth final hit of the basic attack combo, which essentially allows you to gain 2 Forte bars super fast. Now, moving over to the last part of her kit, Resonance Liberation, she will do this quick and cute animation with her buddy Piero, which results in some pretty decent damage of about 834 motion value at max level, and then most importantly, she will grant everyone in the team an attack buff. For every 0.1% crit rate she has over 50%, she will provide 1 attack for up to 200 attack. So that will mean she needs to have 20% over 50% crit rate, or in other words, with 70% crit rate, she can provide the maximum amount of 200 attack boost for the team. And this buff will last for 30 seconds, so it can be utilized by nearly everyone in a single rotation. Oh, and by the way, her first inherent skill grants her 20% attack for 12 seconds after using her skill or heavy attack, so she can gain quite a lot of attack just by using her entire kit. But yeah, that's how Roccia works in a nutshell. And when it comes to her rotations,
About the rotation, I will tell you. Basic, or charge or whatever. When you're having 2 of those, skill, concerto, charge attack or heavy attack, right? And then you switch to another outro skill, then you're doing another character and so on and so forth. It's just so simple, guys.
while there's various ways to build up her Forte and Concerto bar, this example rotation works quite well in Tower of Adversity and other endgame activities. So, start off with her intro skill, which then allows her to immediately use her 4th basic attack, and then afterwards immediately use Resonance Liberation, followed by the skill which then puts her into mid-air, which means now you can quickly spam those 3 real fantasy slam attacks, and then finally use her Echo if possible and switch out. That's it. She's got a pretty simple rotation, but it's really fun to do it, at least in my opinion. Anyway, enough yapping about her kit, let me yap about her build. Alright, the first thing you need to know is that both her Forte attack and Resonance Liberation deal heavy attack damage, which will be important to consider when talking about her weapons and echoes. Speaking of which, if we take a look at her weapon options, the Signature Gauntlets Tragic Comedy offer a sizable crit rate boost from the substat, which is very important to help her achieve that 70% crit rate threshold for a maximum 200 attack boost for the team, but on top of that, the weapon's passive also grants 12% attack increase, just like that, and then after using basic attack or intro skill, she gains 48% heavy attack damage bonus for 3 seconds. So, safe to say, this is her best in slot choice for personal damage. But if we take a look at other 5 stars, Verity's handle has same amount of crit rate, but it offers less damage potential. Besides the 12% attribute damage bonus it grants, the other part of the passive is irrelevant.
We're gonna skip a little bit from these shits and see what he has to say. Oh. Weapon Abyss Surge, this is fine. What the fuck? Why is it going? Celestial Spiral, I guess, is the best for energy. Then best echoes, obviously this one. Midnight Veil or whatever it's called. Nightmare, sure. And then you can go with this one as well, Moonlight Clouds. Let's see, best teams. Okay, let's watch this.
Well, first of all, we of course have the outro skill. The next unit she swaps to will amplify their havoc damage by
Obviously, Havoc characters are preferred, but if you don't have it like me, I don't have Camellia, let's see what he has to say.
20% and basic attack damage by 25% for 14 seconds. And that means Camellia is going to be benefiting the most from this buff. However, the Havoc damage part can also be utilized by Dungeon, Havoc Rower, and even Tao Chi. And for the basic attack damage buffing, Lumi could be able to utilize that part too. Same goes for Jeji, since majority of her damage is also treated as basic attack damage. And so while now you can get the most value out of this intro for Camellia, others can also benefit to some extent. Now there's also something I didn't cover in her kit section, and that is the second inherent skill. You see, when you trigger Roccia's outro, the next character you swap to will also replace their utility button with this device that can be triggered once within 14 seconds. And if you press the utility button, a Vortex Tornado similar to Roccia's skill will be summoned, which will suck in the enemies. So this can actually be very useful for anybody who needs or lacks crowd control or has weak AoE. But yeah, moving over to her actual teams, the best one is going to be Roccia, Camellia, and either Shorekeeper or Verena. As I said before, Shorekeeper can be great here to help Roccia achieve that 70% crit rate if needed, so keep that in mind. Now for any other team, if it's not a Havoc damage dealer you're going to boost with Roccia, then using Moonlit Set can be a better choice in terms of buffing, since her 200 attack boost plus Moonlit Set can work as a nice catch-all general boost for any DPS, and on top of that, she also provides crowd control. But as I said, keep in mind her own personal damage will be lower when using Moonlit when compared to Midnight Veil. Still, it's nice to finally get a pretty flexible unit who can provide a strong specialized support for Camellia, but can also work as a great alternative to any team that needs a buffer and damage dealer. Okay, it's time we take a look at her sequences, and
Okay, so that was the team sequences are fine. Should you guess
once you go
signature
for it.
or
Honestly, if you don't have any
sequence?
gauntlets with critical rate, the signature
Yeah, I would go for weapon as well in my current stage because I don't have any good weapons. Only
is
4
worth
stars.
going for, but it is possible to achieve 70% crit rate without them. However, you will be missing out on a big chunk of personal damage boost. But yeah, overall, Roccia is an excellent new unit. She provides some great boosting and can even group enemies, while at the same time, she's the best choice for Havoc teams, especially for Camellia.
Yeah, so it's kind of okay, right? So it's not the best one if you don't have Camellia, but you can kind of work. That's what I expected. So that's why I pull for her. Not because she's a lolly, right? So not because of that.